we're going. If you'll start by just telling me your name and where we are.
Okay, Nancy O'Connor, and we are at West Middle School in Lawrence, Kansas, and this is part of a 3-school project called Growing Food, Growing Health. There's this middle school and 2 elementaries, and I'm the project coordinator of these 3 school gardens.
Great. And can you talk a little bit about the type of garden, containers, plots, raised beds, what kind of things you have?
Let's see, this is approximately 5,000 square foot garden. It's in its 2nd season. Last year in its 1st season we harvested over 1,000 pounds of produce from this garden. It's maintained by student gardeners who during the summer work harvest produce and sell it at the farmers market to raise money to keep it sustainable during the year, and then once school year starts they work after school and some of the produce goes into the cafeteria. It is all raised beds, so this year we didn't even have to put a tiller in the ground, and our growing practices are all sustainable. So we accept the ecology of this garden, which does include bugs sometimes, but we want it to be a safe environment for children and students to function in. So it's enriched soil with compost and, like I said, lots of hand labor and mulching for weed suppression.
Great. And how did it get started? Funding, approval, anything else you can think of there?
Let's see. The idea of it came from a sustainable ag conference that I went to over 2 years ago. And as a nutrition educator working for a food co-op who also has a nonprofit arm affiliated with it, we have a good relationship with this school because we've been working with this school for many years doing outreach programs for them, and we're really a business partner for them. So we already had a relationship in place. So when this idea came about of a school garden, because as a nutrition educator we're always trying to figure out how do we really touch young people and get them to change their eating habits. And what a school garden does for us, it puts us on a level playing field with fast food places, because this beautiful garden is here 24/7 and students are influenced by it every day when they walk by it. So this is a fabulous teaching tool here. So we approached the school, the principal, and we had a teacher on board with us, and they were pretty receptive to it because they knew us and trusted us. And that was how the whole project got going, and then it just took off because there was a lot of readiness in the community for this type of initiative. And the funding, we fundraise through our nonprofit, so almost all of the money that funds this garden comes from local sources and business partnerships. Other businesses help us, whether it's buying a shed or putting in this fence. And we're continually fundraising. And then, of course, sales from the produce of the garden help keep the garden sustainable. Last year we raised $4,500 from selling produce and t-shirts to keep the project sustainable. So we're a business, and we approach this in a very business model way.
And so what kind of a timeline, how long did it take from when you got the idea going to actually getting plants into the ground?
That's a good question. Which really was relatively quick. I think we had our first conversations with the school district at the end of last winter, which would have been 2 seasons ago, and by April we had begun creating the garden and had crops in the ground. This compared to this year where we were able to get food in the cafeteria before school was out in May, that first year our first crops didn't come on until the end of June. But it moved faster than we anticipated because, again, there was so much support.
Great. And what benefits have you seen for the students related to it?
Well, let's see. Benefits on lots of levels. In our first year, we interviewed students from this middle school for 6 positions as school gardeners. And they are employed. This is a regular job. They had to go through an interview process. They get paid through our co-op. They go through staff training. This is a real job. They get paid $8 an hour to be gardeners. So it's a pretty competitive process. And so those students were really involved. And they were identified not just for their gardening abilities, but for their leadership abilities, because we realized in terms of change that they were our voice in the school. They're a very strong voice in the school and with their peers and in their classrooms. And then of course the cafeteria uses our produce, and we give them signage that says it's from this garden, so we see that impact, that this whole student body at this school gets to see food that was grown on this ground and choose to take it, mostly in the salad bar. And then there's been a lot of outreach programs where the youth go out in the community and do talks to all types of organizations. So it's had this great ripple effect, and now other school gardens are starting. So it's been a catalyst for change as well as a change agent here at just middle school, West Middle School.
What kind of challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome those?
Let's see. Money is one that comes right to mind, because to put in a garden of this magnitude with this type of permanence, it costs money. And we believe strongly that a successful garden needs someone, I would kid about this and say, who lays awake at night thinking about this project. Because projects that are run by volunteers are wonderful, but we wanted this to be durable. So funding to pay a garden coordinator, funding to oversee the youth. So we have to make that kind of financial investment. So funding's a big one for us. And then of course we worry about the same kind of stuff that everybody worries about, like weather. Is it hot? Is it too dry? Are the plants, it's hard to imagine, rotting because we've had too much rain? I mean, our challenge this summer, of course, has been the extreme heat and dryness in July, which caused a lot of our plants to stop setting fruit.
And what kind of did you have a site selection process, or was this just what was available to you?
We walked around the building with the principal, and actually this isn't where we thought we would first put the garden, because they were more willing than I even thought they would be. There was a tree here, and this was a beautiful site, but it had a tree, but the school district, on a school district level, was willing to take that out for us, and that's what became our beautiful table in the garden. So our plans were probably even more humble than this ended up being, but they were so willing to give us this site. So again, on these school grounds, we walked around the whole building and identified this as the best spot.
And where do you get your seeds for the plants?
A lot of places. Some of them are saved, seed saved. Some are donated to us, although we discuss this a lot. Donated seeds are great, but varieties are even more important than saving money sometimes. So sometimes we source specific seeds from specific companies, like Johnny Seeds, who sells a lot of organic seeds. There's a new seed company in Lawrence that is bringing in a lot of Italian heirloom seeds, and they're local to us, so we just purchased our fall seeds from them. So we're conscious even in where we get our seeds and plants. And then plants, we have a number of growers who grow for us.
And where do you get your gardening tools, and where are they stored?
Yes. All of our garden tools were donated to us. We had a project at our co-op called the Giving Garden, where we handmade all these little, they look like seed packets, and we put them on popsicle sticks, and each seed packet, and they were beautiful little packets, had the name of a tool, and it said, you can help this garden by purchasing a rake, a hoe, give us money for a bale of straw. And then we taped all those seed packets up on the front window of our co-op, and then underneath them we had all these flats filled with dirt, and you would look at all the things. Some of them are small, like a pair of garden gloves. Customers and community members, and they would take one of those seed packets off the window and write their name on it and plant it in the garden, and that was a promise of a tool or something that we needed for this garden. So almost all of the tools were donated by individuals. And then it also made this a community project, and it opened up the possibilities for ownership. But then we realized we needed a shed, and a shed is really an important part of a garden structure because it creates kind of a home base, almost like a touchstone in the garden. And we realized after we amassed these tools that we needed a place for them. And we didn't have the money for this shed. So we approached a credit union, Main Street Credit Union, which is like the financial equivalent of a co-op grocery store. And they bought that for us. So again, lots of, even the fence that I'm leaning on was donated by Home Depot and installed by their volunteers. So each one of those partnerships adds strength to this garden because then more people are invested in it.
And what do the kids that help out in the garden, what all do they get to do?
Everything. So we have a regular schedule that is the same every week, and there are different shifts, and kids rotate in and out of different shifts, so they all get different experiences. So we have maintenance days, and today's a maintenance day. So we just look at what in the garden needs the most work at this time, and it's just 100% maintenance. And then we have harvest days, and harvest days are for us one evening a week we harvest for the cafeteria. And then one afternoon a week we harvest to sell at the farmer's market. So those are different shifts with different skills. And then one student gets to work with one adult once a week at the farmer's market selling the produce. So that's yet another set of skills because it's marketing and public interaction and math and business and presentation. So these students all rotate through all of those jobs, so they do everything.
And what kind of safety precautions do you have to take with working with the students out here?
Well, let's see. What you would normally with these are middle school students, and now some of them are high school students. So they're 14 and 15-year-olds. They're always supervised. There's always at least one adult, usually two adults here, with a cell phone and a vehicle. And we have a first aid kit. We're really conscious of hot weather and drinking adequate water. We make all the kids put on sunscreen before they get started working a shift, and we're always checking in with them. Have you had enough water to drink? We always take, if we're doing a 4-hour shift, we take multiple breaks. And then we always, at the end of every shift, we end with a kind of a ritual where we have a circle and we go around and everybody talks about liked best next time, so that we can just make sure everybody's doing okay and feeling okay about what they did, and an opportunity to say if they'd like to do something else.